Most people think aiming is about gear, better irons, better dots, or clear glass. But the real advantage is in how you use your vision. In this video, we're breaking down how your vision affects everything, from sight picture to speed to precision. Let's first talk about iron sights. So typically with iron sights, you have a front sight post and then a rear sight notch. What your sight picture should look like, this is my target and this is the center of my A zone. I want my front sight post to basically bisect that, and then my rear sight will come along here. I'm even across the top and I have equal amount of light on either side. If I have a dot and a dot and a dot, I'm not trying to align those dots, I'm trying to align the edges of the sights. For the most accurate shooting, you want to focus on the front sight. For speed, you might shift focus a little bit towards the target, and that's perfectly fine, but you want to make sure you have the skill of being able to align your sights crisply and clearly, and the ability to focus on the front sight. If you shoot iron sights, have you seen them with the crispness and clarity that you need to have a hard front sight focus? One way to ensure that you have seen your iron sights correctly is to just remove the distraction of the sights and everything else. So I'll come up here and I will stick my muzzle on the target and I'm gonna see my front sight. I'm gonna look at the little dot in the middle. I'm gonna look at, on this front sight, there's some discoloration and some shading on it. And I'm gonna study it. And then I'm gonna close my eyes. I'm gonna picture that in my mind's eye. And then I'm gonna open my eyes and see it again, then close my eyes one more time and see it with the crispness and clarity that I saw with my eyes open. And then from there, now I have a picture of what my front sight should look like. I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna shoot this. So I'm gonna drive the gun out. I'm looking through my sights and seeing my dot with the same level of crispness that I saw up there before. And then I'm just gonna break the shot. This is a slow fire accuracy drill, and what I'm focused on is just trying to see my sights and have a very distinct, detailed focus and not just a big blurry mess. So now let's talk about red dots. You have an optic and you're basically looking through the optic. You see your target and you see your dot. Iron sights, it's hard to focus on the sight and not focus on the target. And it's the exact opposite with red dots. It's hard to focus on the target and not the sight. Your brain wants to track the bright dot as it's moving around and not stay focused on the target. What you want to do is stay hyper-focused on the target. You want to pick a very distinct spot on the target and ensure you see the detail of that spot on the target and look through the dot. A helpful trick with shooting red dots is to take a piece of black tape and put it there in the center of your A zone. And now you have a visual reference point that you can be very distinct and focused on. And I'll take my red dot and I will stack it just right underneath or right on top. And that way I'm focused on the actual black tape and then the jagged edge, whatever is the thing. And then the dot is not actually in the center of my vision. It's slightly off of my vision. And so it can be something that is not as distracting. So I'll be hyper-focused on the detail of the tape and then my dot is stacked underneath it. So one of the things that people bring up when we're talking about sights is like reliability. Is the red dot as reliable as iron sights? And most people assume, of course it's not. With both iron sights and red dots, there's all sorts of different sights that are out there. The cheap, crummy, factory plastic iron sights that come on a Glock, they don't survive, right? If you use that to rack off of something to do a one-handed clear, the sights are just gonna rip right off. And so not all iron sights are reliable. Not all iron sights are created equal. And the same goes for red dots. The idea that you're not going to use a red dot because it's not durable enough, that is a thing that people romantically want to hang on to. 25 years ago, the same debate happened with rifles. At this point, nobody really argues that you should just have iron sights on your rifle and not have a red dot or a magnified optic. And we're really at the same point here now with handguns that for several years, people have been purposefully designing red dots specifically for semi-automatic handguns, and they're making improvements. They're becoming more robust, more reliable. There's absolutely nothing wrong with them. And so if it is a performance advantage for you, you should definitely go with the red dot. If you have old eyes, so for me it hit when I turned about 42 as I started to lose some of my nearsightedness, and so now 5 years later I can barely see up close without my glasses, and so it's definitely had an impact on me. So iron sights can be a challenge, and that's where red dots really shine. Having a red dot where you're just looking through the dot and focused on the thing at distance is a huge advantage and simplifies the entire aiming process. You can still get by shooting iron sights. It's perfectly fine. You're just gonna have fuzzy sights. So you're not gonna be able to have a super hard front sight focus if you have older eyes that have nearsighted problem. Let's talk about eyes real quick and eye dominance. In order to figure out your eye dominance, reach out really far from you and look at an object in the distance in the circle there of your hands, and then bring that back without losing focus. And for me, it comes back to my right eye because I am right eye dominant. One of the things though with eye dominance, here's me shooting on my right eye. What I didn't do is pivot my head over like this. I want to keep my face flat to the target. And so if you are a right-handed shooter shooting out of your left eyeball, just bring the gun up to your left eye. And if you're a right-handed shooter, then you mount the gun up to your right eye and don't change the position of your head. Some people will argue you can't change eye dominance, and you can. It may not be worth the effort, and you don't need to. Shoot out of whatever eye works for you and works best, and if you feel like you need to switch, then you can switch. People will get into this big debate about one eye open or two eyes open. Some people, it's really easy for them to shoot with both eyes open. For other people, it's a challenge. If I slightly close my non-shooting eye for the instant that I'm actually aiming and shooting, and then as soon as I'm done shooting, that eye is open again, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. What you shouldn't do is walking around clearing a structure with an eye closed. Like, that seems really stupid. From my perspective, there really isn't that much debate about one eye shooting or both eyes shooting. The thing that I've found in training though, is that most people are actually shooting with two eyes closed. And they're shooting with two eyes closed and they don't even realize it because they have an involuntary flinch because there's this thing exploding in front of their face, and then they go to shoot. At the moment of discharge, both eyes are closed, which is the reason that most people don't realize where their shots are going. They can't call their shots because they don't see what their sights are doing at the moment of discharge. Do you actually see your sights track? Do you see what your dot is doing? Do you see what your front sight is doing? Most people don't actually see it. They see what they thought their sights were before, and then they see the result on the target after, and they're like, man, I'm pretty sure I was aligned right there where I wanted to be. Why is my shot off? And that's because their eyes weren't open. And if you can learn to at least shoot with one eye open, the whole world is gonna change and your shooting is gonna improve dramatically. So the issue is, do you blink when you are shooting? Or do you have both eyes open? And really, this ends up being a subconscious thing. You won't know that unless you have a partner. So I'm gonna be your partner. You're gonna aim in. And what I'm gonna do as your partner is I'm gonna look at your eyeball. If I blink also, it's not gonna work. So I'm gonna hold my hand up here between the gun and my eyeball so I'm not distracted. And I'm gonna flex my eye open, I'm gonna watch your eye. And if you blink, I'm gonna say the word blink. Blink. No blink. Blink. No blink. No, kind of blink. Okay, blink. All right, so sometimes you're blinking, sometimes you're not blinking. And what we wanna do is make sure you never blink. And so what we're gonna do is we're gonna overemphasize our eyes being open. And so I'm gonna sit here, I'm gonna look at my target with big, huge bug eyes. And then as I'm shooting, I'm gonna say the word open. And I'm gonna repeat it, open, 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 in order to occupy my subconscious mind with what I'm trying to focus on. And I'm trying to focus on open, 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 open. And when I do that, I should be seeing all kinds of things. I should be seeing my dot track. I should be seeing my brass come out. I should be seeing the smoke. I should be tracking all of these different inputs that are happening when the gun goes off. Okay, so you're gonna step up and do the same thing. So this time you're flexing your eye open, super big white eyes.
Open, 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 open,
Good.
open, 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 open,
Good.
open, open. Open, open, open,
Good.
open.
And that's task layering, right? It's almost hard to just say open while you're shooting because there's a whole lot of things going on. And so that time, your eyes were open the entire time. Did you see more and get more inputs?
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
Okay. Nice. The two most important aspects of shooting are going to be your ability to control the trigger with speed and dexterity, and then your vision. You need to put the time and energy into understanding vision. A lot of gains can be made with vision in dry fire, where you don't have the distraction of the shooting. And so you can do a bunch of training in dry fire, do a bunch of live fire training, and be very purposeful about what you're seeing and what your expectations are for your vision in your training. If you want to learn more about trigger control, check this video out. If you want to learn more about grip, check this video out.